Okay. Would you explain it?
Certainly. David Johnson from Norwood Engineering, representing the applicant Angie Pelletier, 183 High Street. I have a plan here that'll probably make things a lot easier to see. There's an existing driveway, an existing right-of-way. The driveway belongs to Carlson, this location. The driveway is partially on Mr. Pelletier's property. He shares the right-of-way with Carlson. The intent of this plan is to convey a 5-foot wide strip, 628 square feet, from the Pelletier property to the Carlson property, so that her driveway is fully on her lot, and the right-of-way is going to be abandoned. When we prepared the plan, the problem was that the requisite circle of 160 feet diameter didn't fit on the lot. It was 155 feet, and Mr. Pelletier petitioned the Board of Appeals and was granted a variance to have the 155-foot circle. The frontage for Mr. Pelletier's property is still well in excess of the 200-foot minimum. I think it's 223 or 233 feet. So the intent of the plan is just to create that 5-foot wide parcel so it can be conveyed to the abutter to resolve that issue.
I'll get the circle. What was that needed for?
The Walpole zoning bylaw for creation of lots requires a circle
Yep.
to fit within the property tangent to the street and the sidelines.
Okay.
And at 80% of the required frontage. So the required frontage in this zone is 200 feet. 80% would be a circle, 160 foot in diameter, and we have 155 foot.
Oh, I see. You shorten yourself up.
Short 5 feet. So he applied to the Board of Appeals, and they granted the variance of 155 foot.
Oh, okay. Never seen that before. I like wherever faced that. Okay. You see anything, Maggie?
Nope, I looked at it beginning of the week. It looks fine.
I'll make a motion to endorse.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You can just sign that one.
Is this in the rural district?
Yeah.
It is?
That's not, that was the first thing. Yeah, so we just started 2 minutes ago.
In the rural district, confirmed? Yeah? Okay. Yep.
Meeting notes.
They replaced the bulb in here, or am I?
A little brighter. I need my glasses.
Are we signing these?
No, well, not this one. Right? No, this one. Can I take that out?
Yeah.
If you want. There's two here. Do you want to? Look at it? I'll give it back to Kate. I want one. Okay.
I was under the call on this one. I'm giving everything back to Kate.
Okay.
I just take great drugs.
Okay.
So are we signing this one?
Yeah.
Am I okay to sign it?
Yeah. We sign next item. Pine Acres bond. We have the amount of $152,749.38. Pine Acres is right off of North Street, right next to Smith Ave. Motion to set the bond at $153,000. We'll just round it off.
Second.
Second. Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
153.
Oh, she's welcome.
Oh, if we'd known that, we would've done it the end of the night. Lost Brook. Oh, this is to Rick. All right. So what are we're not doing anything with this, right?
What it is the subdivision plan that was signed shows gravity sewer. And instead of doing gravity sewer, they wanna do two individual force mains. And basically, I told them, they came in as if they were gonna just go and build it, and I told them, I said, you have to figure out, and I suppose what they're looking for is, do they have to modify the approved subdivision plan? And plus, their O&M documents reflect the plan that was approved that has a single gravity main, not the force mains. So I think they gotta go to the Sewer and Water Commission, but I assume, and maybe wrongly so, that they have to get something from this board to modify the approved plan, but,
No, because we don't approve the sewer.
okay,
It's just like a septic, as long as however they do it after.
okay.
But the O&M, they'll definitely have to go back.
They have to redo their documents to reflect the new plan, because the old documents say that each owner is responsible for 50% of the maintenance, but there won't be anything there, so, okay. I think they know they have to go back to the Sewer and Water Commission, I just thought they needed something from here, okay, that's good.
All right. And
The last one is out.
20?
I forwarded that to the board and.
Oh, that? Citizens petition to request the building inspector and zoning board send a second notice to Walpole property abutters when changes are made to the original building plans by the developers, builders to inform the abutters of this change so they can react to the changes or review new plans or any item. Okay. My only comment is, doesn't concern us.
Will we be responsible for notifying the second time?
No.
No?
No, it doesn't even ask us. The issue with this is what the one committee had last time. Where does this go? It doesn't say, it'll be a bylaw, it'll be in the zoning book, it'll be in the subdivision control, whatever. So there's nothing, if they pass this town meeting, it kinda like floats, where does this go?
Has no impact. Because no one does it.
It's made to have an impact.
It's made, but
How,
you gotta-
how is
you
it
gotta-
gonna,
Who's gonna
it's not
execute it?
made in a way to have an impact,
It's
so.
not
If
made in a way to
somebody-
execute it. Right.
What if an RTM member submits a substitute motion and says where it goes, and it's a zoning bylaw?
Can't do it.
Because it hasn't had
we
a
haven't
public
advertised?
hearing.
Correct. Yeah, you can't, they can't shove it in the Mass General laws, we have to have public hearing for any zoning change, so we couldn't do that. Of course, you could read what you think he's trying to do, but the way it reads is, it says any changes to original building plans. So that means if you file the building permit, and you're gonna do this, but then you come in, you're gonna put your deck a little bigger, then they'd have to send it out to the abutters.
And when that means any, like, let's say someone needs
Doesn't
to
define.
add a foot on the end of their driveway.
Doesn't
They have to
define it.
remail everything?
Yeah, doesn't define it here, yeah.
I would say send it back and redefine it and get more specific with changes. Because that's ludicrous, that we'd be here, they'd be sending out notices every week.
No, but
One
that,
people that get rich is the USPS.
Right.
yeah, but it doesn't even involve us, it's the
I
building
don't see
inspector and
anyone
zoning board.
endorsing it. Everyone, I think the comments I read, everyone said it wouldn't work the way it is. So I can't see it passing.
But so if we know that it's bad, why even throw it up there?
Because it's a citizen's petition.
We're not the one throwing it up there.
So they're just looking for an opinion right now?
Well, Mr. Norton wants support for all of us so that he doesn't get this shoved upon him, I guess. That's all.
I would say as written, you know, it's too vague, we can't.
We should just maybe tell Jim that we're not going to hold a public hearing on this article, or we don't consider it to be a zoning article, something, just to make sure that nobody comes back at us.
Well, maybe
Did we advertise it as a public hearing? No, so it's not,
Well, it's
so,
moot anyway.
yeah.
It has nothing to do with us, but your point, Joe, I think would be a good one, is maybe we should send it back to the selectmen saying, for point of order, that you cannot change this at town meeting to be in the zoning book, because you'll have to do a public hearing.
Yeah.
Legally, you can't, if someone gets up and changes it.
So it's gonna miss regardless, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that would be a nightmare. I can see the spirit,
Nothing else?
Right, yeah, but,
not the way it's written.
no.
Have a cherry coffee.
I had a latte there once.
That coffee is really good. Like,
I'll go back again.
just the regular.
Regular coffee? Jack, you asked me on Cana Home if they could had a full board. The one night that they didn't, they continued, so yes, everybody.
Okay, okay. I think you put that in here, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yes, it's just sent us here.
You wanna take a 5-minute break and tell him?
5?
Well, I mean, he's taping, right?
Yeah. He wants to go on 5 minutes? I thought you wanted to go.
Not really.
They don't use tape anymore, Joe. It's just on a hard drive. You can do whatever you want. It's not like we're wasting the reel-to-reel.
Yeah, he's not like this.
Are you sure?
Still got a picture of Fay Ray in your house?
What?
Still got Fay Ray?
Audrey Meadows.
Okay, we're back. Hopefully nobody flipped the station to watch something better.
Flip station, who
Nothing
could do that?
better than this. All right. With the hour being after 7:30, we have a continued public hearing for Canna Home Site Plan 18-01. We have the folder.
Can I give it to you?
Some of those nights. You already have it.
Right, it's a manila folder. Oh, is that it? Okay. All right. Well,
There you go.
that'll be it. Is there anybody here? Nope.
Mr. Glossa?
No.
Is that what just loose and rocking?
Mr. Chairman, my name's John Glossa, Engineering, 46 East Street in East Walpole. So I have a email from Anthony Yeba, Cana Home, on August 29th. And John, I'm going to work directly with the planning board, so I think I've kind of been
So we have nobody here.
placed.
So nobody's here tonight, right?
I don't see him.
What do you mean replaced? Was that an email saying that he doesn't want you representing him?
He doesn't want me representing him on this. He's gonna work with, he said he's gonna work directly with you, and he's having luck with the building inspector, building department.
Say that again?
I mean, I'd like to help him get this thing
He no longer
approved.
represents the
I think it's pretty
applicant.
close to being approved, but there's not a lot I can do if
He's not here tonight?
he's not here now.
So you were dumped by emails, what you're telling us.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Not the first time.
Isn't electronic stuff great?
So,
You don't even have to
Feel like
waste a
I'm in a
stamp.
romantic
so
conversation.
can he continue if he's not here?
No,
It appears
He's
that a
not
lot of the
representing
work.
him anymore, so he
There-
can't do
there
it.
is
So
no
what
applicant.
happens?
so we gotta vote it down.
So that's it?
Yep, runs out of time.
I don't know. I mean, he says he's gonna work directly with the planning board, which
He's gonna have to
in my-
start over, though.
The way I
When
read
was our-
that means
I
I'm
can't-
not,
when were we up?
not
Yeah.
working with
So
you.
that means you have no authority to continue.
Right, no authority.
And he's
to
not
do-
here, so we're gonna have to vote it down, and he's gonna have to start over.
Well, it appears that a lot of the work that we're talking about during the site plan review approval process is sort of being completed. Every time I ride by the
Fortunately.
property.
Look, I thought they were open the other day, there were so many trucks there. Honest to God.
Well, you know, and I can't speak to that, so, because I have knowledge of that, right? So, that was an occupied building, right? Allied Auto Parts, so,
You got a date?
to my knowledge, the building inspector is letting him
Alright, so it's over.
occupy the first floor of the building. It was the second floor, and possibly if he was gonna do something in the attic space, that's why we were in front of you, to create the 14 parking spaces, which would allow him to expand to the second floor. The assessor's records were emphatic, and I was very surprised, but Dennis Fliss showed it to me, that it said right in the assessor records, second floor vacant. So somebody, you know, had recognized that that second floor had been vacant and not used when Allied was there. So this hearing was for the second floor expansion of the use. So you can talk to the building inspector, but my understanding is he is gonna let them use the first floor.
So in terms of occupancies, though, the second floor then is what, like,
Vacant,
storage?
It would have to, vacant, it would have to be the same.
asked for
should-
It's not my interpretation,
All right,
but
we shouldn't be
that's what-
talking about it because it's not here. Thanks for the baby, John.
Thank you.
no plans, no nothing, and he's in the
No
building?
applicant.
Okay, all right, I'll make a motion to deny Canna Homes,
Second.
and for the reasons being that the applicant failed to produce the additional drawings and requirements, and his, what do you call it, time to take action was going to be up before the next hearing. So,
Did not request an
and-
extension.
yeah, and did not request an extension, so add that a motion, can we have a second already? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
Abstain, Mullen rule.
So is this Katie? Yeah.
So you'll be able to at least
Right.
get some plumbing fixtures there. All right, 7:35. Pinnacle Point.
came in today.
Of course it did. Oh, one of the best developers in the town. Are you gonna speak to this, John?
Sure.
No, you don't have to.
Okay. But he does, he has PAR Corporation, PAR Engineering, who's a large environmental firm. Let me speak. So, you know, I have been after John to hire someone to identify exactly what can be done under the conservation, under the wetlands regulations and the Rivers Act, because it is kind of a waste of time showing a lot of stuff and not really knowing, and I think that was even in either Maggie's comments or your comments. So he did hire them, and they were actually there today. And what they're doing is, you know, under the Rivers Act, places that were previously developed can be redeveloped. So they're finding those areas, they're flagging the edge of the riverfront area, they're flagging the edge of the wetlands, so that in fact, when they're done and we survey it, we'll have an exact location of where work can be done and how much of the site can be altered, which is important, obviously, to me and to John and to you and the Conservation Commission as well. So I asked, and John knows about this, obviously, I talked to him today, to have this continued. I said your first meeting in November, even if it's the second meeting in November, to give us enough time to get this on a plan and back in front of you. But it's gonna take a little while to get that.
Wow, this goes back a long time. I think I was still playing for these guys when this started.
That's possible.
All right,
Yep, thank you.
John, there's something missing?
Hey,
God,
come on.
this is just, because I've been told that I never do things right by your boss there, the developer, because I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm doing this, but can't give you a hearing in November. Why?
An extension? We need an extension?
Oh, well, you want me to write one out?
Yeah.
Okay, to the end of November, or
Yeah, that's fine.
End of December.
End of December? Okay.
the end of December?
Yeah, because I'm not sure when a Thursday, yeah. Yeah, if you write one up.
Yeah, I'll write it out right now.
What?
No, it's just more here than the Rivers Act.
Joe,
If
we
you-
can't go into it.
Well, Maggie's got 40 pending comments here.
Well, but
Some of,
I met with Maggie, most of those.
you can't open it, we're not open, we're just open to the continue. Okay, so, I'll make a motion to accept an extension up through December 31st, 2018.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And November,
opposed.
okay. So when you see the vote 4-1 for the extension, John Glosser, make sure you tell Mr. Hassenegger that I was in the majority, so I don't hear him whining about me in the future.
November 1st is going to be Renmar's refile, so do you want to go to the
Second
second
meeting.
one, November 15th?
November 15th. 7:31, in case we got another one, you know what I mean? That way we can, yep. And we'll continue this public hearing until November 15th at 7:31. And in a few minutes, we're going to Rojo.
Yeah.
John, you're batting 0 for 2 tonight, huh? Did we get anything on Rustic? Nothing. I'll probably stop that once we get into this at 7:50.
That expires on the 30th also.
Yeah, but in case anybody's here or something.
On Rojo, we need an extension of time, which is more than tonight,
Okay.
and this is basically.
Rojo?
I have that.
Need a pen?
This one. Thank you.
Do you have one in here? I don't see the one in there. No, I'll look at everything. If you look at everything, you might find something. There you go. Do, 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 do.
And it's the special permit simultaneously with the site plan.
All right, and, okay, that runs out, and the special permit does not run out, is that right? Special permit wouldn't be 65, right?
No, but I put them together, so.
Yeah, might as well get them on both. So, Grum, wanna do some good planning talk? It's just awesome for all you guys out there. Keeps you going, right, Dave? How many going to Cleveland tonight if they win? Free Bud Light. Yeah.
What? Really?
Yeah. Did you hear that? Joe, you like Bud Light?
Not really.
No
It's
comment.
free, Joe. If the Browns win tonight against the Jets, they've got all these little containers all over every bar in Cleveland. They open up if they win. They drink all the Bud Lights till they're gone.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
difficult
now
to make it.
he'll vote in the Mullen rule, so you can call in from Cleveland.
The old Mullen rule.
What are we waiting for, just the time?
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause we didn't see Cannon Holmes coming, like not being here. We figured it would be there for at least a minimum of 20 minutes, but.
You go to Main Street Line.
I did, I saw you, like,
It's a pretty busy night.
went well?
Yeah. At the peak, like 2:30, 5. Police estimate, 32. Not literally, but in a manner of speaking.
Before they went all split.
Can I make a request?
I don't even need glasses when it's that bright.
Pizza.
We were supposed to have one, and they didn't show up.
Oh, really? My kids are like, I was like, there's so
And
many food trucks.
we were supposed
And then
to-
we got there, and they were like, where's the pizza?
We were supposed to have pizza, and we were supposed to have Captain sandwich. So, yes, next year we're gonna double the food trucks.
Okay, yeah.
They don't wanna commit. Good this year, real good, getting better and better.
First year. Sorry. I did hear. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it's fun. I never thought of that. Yeah. It's interesting.
Cramming.
I'm glad you brought that up. Never thought of that.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
No, I agree completely.
Close enough. Okay, with the hour being at 7:45, we have a public hearing for a site plan application 18-10, and it's 7:46, a special permit for case number 18-11 as filed by John Shalby, Rojo Incorporated, 12 Warren Lane, Walpole, Mass, with respect to property located northeast corner of Pine Street and Route 1, Assessors Map 54, Parcel 22, zoning district, highway business, Walpole Resource Area 3 and 4, as shown on a plan by Glosser Engineering. And the site development is for a proposed car wash on the Boston Providence Highway. And with that being said, the hearing is open, and the other one is too, because it's 7:46. As we do customarily, we run them two together because they are intertwined. The special permit is a reflection of what he wants to do for site plan. With that being said, for anybody who's never been here before, we'll let the engineer, whoever it's just you, John, right?
Yes.
You'll give the overview of it, and if we have any questions, I will read from our file here, any of the comments from all the town boards that have to comment on this, and then we'll allow questions for our board, and at the end, we'll open up to the public. Just hold your questions to the end, and you'll get a chance to speak before we wrap it up. So with that being said, John?
Is this across from Donnell's plant? Walpole Park South.
No, it's,
Walpole Park South.
here's the preserve, here's Pine Street, Iorio Rink is right down there, Apollo
Gotcha.
Security. You're
So
going
this is
down
like
there.
Minuteman?
Yes.
Okay.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, my name is John Glosser, Glosser Engineering, 46 East Street in East Walpole. And as you said, I'm here representing John Shalby, manager of Rojo, Inc. Some of you may be familiar with the Irving Station that's on the corner of Route 1 and University Ave at Everett Street in Norwood. It's on the southbound lane, big gas station there with some car washes associated with it. So John and his family are the owners of that property, and John also owns in Norwood the Dean Street Car Wash, which is on Dean Street, just, you know, a few or 100 yards or so from Route 1. So John has experience in operating car washes and a gas station, a large gas station. And he and his family own other properties along Route 1 in Norwood. So John has a purchase and sales to buy the property that's described. It's parcel 54-22. It's, if you assume Route 1's essentially going north and south, it's on the northeast corner of Route 1 and Pine Street, and it's the only corner on that intersection that is not developed, right? On the northwest corner, you have Walpole Park South. On the southwest corner, you have Minuteman Ford, and on the southeast corner, you have the residential development, the Gatehouse. The site, as you can see on the existing conditions plan, is 2.86 acres. The zoning is highway business, and it is in water resource overlay protection districts 2 and 3. What's going to be shown, or when I'm going to show you where the development is, that's actually in zone 3, not in zone 2. The Zone 2 just takes a very small chunk of the property. There are wetlands off-site where the 100-foot buffer around the wetlands extends slightly onto this site. Just for those who may not know, it's a little bit of a misnomer to me. A 100-foot buffer does not mean that you can't do any work within that 100 feet. What it means is that if you are going to do work within that 100 feet and it's work that's deemed to alter the ground, then you need to file for a permit from the local Conservation Commission. And we've filed for that permit. We've had our first hearing with the Conservation Commission. I thought it went very well. There's a few questions that the agent had regarding the stormwater management, and we're confident that our stormwater management system is designed correctly. We're just giving her some additional information that that the conservation agent has asked for. Also, the School Meadow Brook is it's just about 200 feet from this piece of property. It sort of runs diagonally away from this property and then behind the Iorio Arena. So we have a little bit of this property that's within 200 feet of the School Meadow Brook. Again, that doesn't mean that we can't alter that area, even though we're not proposing to alter any of that area, but it would just mean that we would need a permit from the local Conservation Commission. So the topography of this site, and you're probably not familiar with it, and actually I never really took a look at this property until I got involved with it with John. As you're driving northbound on Route 1, you're going to pass Pine Street, you're going to pass this property, and it actually sits up fairly high, maybe 10 or 12 feet from Route 1. And looking at it closely, you can see how they built Route 1. They actually cut through. So this was cut into on the right side, and on the left side where Walpole Park South is and the jug handle, that was actually filled. So they took some soil from the northbound side and they kind of put it on the southbound side, and they sort of made, Route 1 the nice level highway that you have out there now. And then once the topography rises up in this location, there's a high point here. Here's Pine Street, Route 1 northbound this way, and then it's sloping down towards the back, and it slopes down until it gets to the wetland at the rear. The soils here are Merrimack sands. So Merrimack sand are what they call hydrologic group A soils. So these soils literally are not much different than what you would see if you went to a nice sandy beach somewhere. So we did 3 test pits here and essentially found that it's sand down to 180 inches, which is as deep as the excavator that we had out there that day could dig. So the proposal, I'm just going to switch sheets. So the proposal is to build a building here, which will be a car wash. And there'll be 2 curb cuts, one off of Route 1 at this location here. You would enter here, and the other off of Pine Street at this location here. And then you travel along behind the building. At this location, there's like these stoplights that are going to tell you to wait after you pay, and then your light turns green. You come around through the building, out the other side, and this is completely automatic, this car wash, and I'll get into that in a second. When you get out the other side, you can either go through, these are vacuums here, and you can vacuum your car and then leave here and go northbound on Route 1. Or if you come out here, you can bypass the vacuums and come along this sort of little frontage road here and get to the exit here and go northbound on Route 1. Or if you come out the car wash, you can travel out to Pine Street, where obviously you can turn left on Pine Street, or you can turn right on Pine Street and then head towards Route 1, where you can go southbound on Route 1, or cross Route 1 and take Pine Street towards Washington, South Street and Washington Street. So that's the traffic pattern. All of these curb cuts are on roadways, even though it's Pine Street, it's under Mass Highway's jurisdiction. Mass Highway, when they built the jug handle, took the property to where it says 3 + 50 years, so just past where the Hilltop, what do they call that, Hilltop Drive is now. So to that end, I went down and met with Mass Highway a few months ago. They sort of gave me a laundry list of what they wanted to see and what they didn't want to see. I actually encouraged John, and he did, hire Green International, so a large engineering firm who do a lot of transportation projects, because we wanted to make sure that we weren't going to waste John's time and money, the planning board's time, the Conservation Commission's time, and have a plan that then when we got to the highway department, because they actually won't entertain a curb cut until there's a signed plan, and then find out that they weren't going to approve it. So Green, because they have a good relationship with the Mass Highway Department, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the Mass Highway Department, it's just that they usually like to work with projects that are already approved, but because they have a good relationship with them, they were able to send sort of preliminary plans down to them and kind of get a, well, this looks approvable answer from them. So they won't give us a curb cut until the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission have approved this, but we feel we're on solid ground with the curb cuts as shown on this plan. They've kind of been, to some extent, pre-approved by Mass Highway. So the other part of this project is that we're going to essentially flatten this slope so that the area here is at about the same elevation that the highway is now. So as I said, this jumps up about 9, 10, 12 feet, and that's why we're showing this area here. And if you look at the grading plan, you can see an area here that we're leveling off. And at some point, another building, possibly another car wash building, one that's manual, not automatic, will be built there. That's not part of this application. When I met with Mass Highway, basically they said, put every building, whether you're going to build it or not, if you think it might get built now or 20 years from now, put it on the plan. We want to see it now. We want to see how it's all going to work now. So that's why that's on the plan. That's not part of the application, but it gives everyone an idea of what may happen on this site in the future. So the other part of this is the drainage. So we had identified, 3 areas where the drainage is running off of this site. One is into Route 1, one's down to Pine Street, and the other is towards the rear into the wetlands at the rear. So we're essentially showing, 4 drainage mitigation areas. In the front, taking this parking area here, taking this frontage road here, we have an underground set of galleys. These would be concrete 4x4 galleys that will handle all of the runoff from that area. There's a little watershed for this area right in here that would be running out onto the highway if we didn't mitigate it somehow. So there's a slot drain, a trench drain across that. And again, that's bringing it into a set of galleys here. To take this area here, we have a trench drain that sort of runs all the way along this bottom of the slope. And then to take the building, this area where the cars are gonna queue up in the rear. We have an above-ground infiltration basin here, with an overflow that would go towards the wetlands here. But there is very little runoff in the existing condition and this matching runoff in the proposed condition. All of the drainage is designed in accordance with the stormwater management regulations. So as far as the special permit goes, that's the requirement, is that the drainage is designed to the standards of the Massachusetts DEP stormwater management regulations. So that's the drainage in a nutshell. And then the final part of this, which is probably the most important part of this, is what is termed source control, right? So the way this operation works is, first of all, you need soap to wash the car, right? So these soaps, and there's different there's different names to them. There's different soaps. I think there's 8 or 10 different ones that were part of the application. Will be brought. They come in 30-gallon drums. Each one of these lasts about a year, so it's not like they're constantly coming and going. And they're actually brought in a small truck, a van or a small panel truck, and they are taken off of the truck inside the building, and they're put in a room which is called a soap room, right? And so they have sort of this own area where they are stored and where they're used. That room has a floor drain in it, and that floor drain drains to what they call the wash pit, and I'll get to that in a second. So you have the soaps inside the building, and now the car drives into the building and then is pulled through the building and it comes out the other side. So everyone's probably gone through a car wash as it's being pulled through. You're going to get the car wet, and then they're going to put soap on it, and then they're going to rinse it, and then they're going to dry it, right? So all of that water goes into a drain in the middle of the building, and then in what they call a wash pit, right? So none of that water leaves the building. It goes into a wash pit, which goes into a tank, which is reclaims the water, and then it's actually filtered, it's treated, and then it's reused. So that when this system is running perfectly, there is literally no use of outside water. So even though this building is hooked up to the town's water supply, there is, when this system is running perfectly, there's no use of any outside water. So I know the sewer and water department was, or the sewer and water commissioners were asking myself and John about that. But basically, this operation doesn't use any more water than a household would use on a daily basis. When it does use water is if for some reason the reclaim system breaks down, a filter gets plugged up or something like that, then, because John doesn't want to shut the business down, then they will use the water. But he doesn't want to use the water because it's costly, and he has to do something with the water. If the system breaks down, he has to let it go back out to the sewer. So it can be costly. So it's to his advantage and to the town's advantage for the system to work to its optimum performance level, which is that no water actually leaves, and it's all reclaimed and used on the next car. So the other part of that is that as the car goes through, it's soaked, it's rinsed. As it goes through the final stage, there are blowers that are heated that blow all of the water off of the car and back into the building. So no water leaves this building. No water that was used to wash the cars comes in contact with stormwater. No water comes in contact with any of these catch basins or any of these drains. It's all pushed back into the building by the blowers. And there's also, this is, even though I say it's automatic, there's always an attendant, at least one attendant, and often more attendants, that operate this car wash. So that it's not like someone can just drive through and then just blow out the side and forget about, having the blower work, or forgetting about taking time to let the soap come off or something like that. The car is pulled through by a conveyor, and it's all sort of standardized, and that's how the operation will work. The attendant will monitor. He's not going to watch every car, but he's going to monitor often enough to know if the system is failing to work properly, and then he's going to take whatever steps he needs to take to make sure that the system is working as it's supposed to work. That, for the Conservation Commission and for the board giving the special permit to cover more than the 15%, which would normally be what's allowed in the aquifer area, is important, because we want to keep the stormwater and the wash water separate. There is a well shown here, but the well is for irrigation. More often than not, the water from the well is too hard, and it's too hard to, or too expensive to add softeners so that the water can be used for the car wash. But as I said, this system, when it's working properly, uses no more water than a household. The other part of that is the sewer. Of course, there's a bathroom in here, there's attendants here, they have sewers and toilets and sinks, and that will be pumped out of here into a manhole that's right there, that exists, has 3 force mains going into it now, so we're going to pump into that also with a small force main. There's some other facets to it, but I think I'll leave it there, and then I can answer any questions that you might have regarding the site plan and the operation of the car wash.
All right, I'll read board comments from the Conservation. This project is currently before the Commission, and its continued hearing will be on September 26th at 7:15. From the Board of Health, dated September 5th, the Board of Health at its September 4th meeting voted unanimously that after reviewing the plan and having their questions answered, project satisfactory, the board has no concerns. Board of Appeals, there are no comments on the above referenced matter. From Sewer and Water, dated September 11th, the board met with the applicant and his representatives. The board concurs with the town engineer, letter dated September 4th. Ms. Walker's comments recommending peer review filing with the town's sewer consultants for sewage flow, potential odor issues, and need for pump station was voted to be required. With regards to water at this location, the 250 gallons per day proposed usage is questionable, and written confirmation needs to be provided. And the board would like to reserve additional comments once this is clarified. And the last one is yours, Maggie.
Okay.
Before you go, we didn't have anything with police or fire?
So we met with the fire department, so just FYI, so they're only, because.
You met with John, we need something from him, that's all.
Okay, well, let me just tell you, no, I understand that, but I'm just gonna tell you about one of the revisions you're gonna see is that under this scenario, because there's gates here at each one of these queuing areas, so you're gonna see a paved area right in here going around there,
Okay.
which is what they really asked for. So I think after, when they see that, they'll be satisfied, and I'll see if I can get a letter for you.
All right, Maggie?
Okay. As far as the peer review, did they say they were gonna handle contracting that, or did they not even think about that?
Nobody asked
Okay.
me about it. So
Okay.
if you wanna do it, it's fine. I don't know what, I really kind of,
No, I'll
doesn't
check
matter to
with
me.
them.
Really don't understand why it's needed. It's a small pump station. Basically, it's taking a bathroom and a sink and a little bit of water that might, that, from the reclaim tank that might get through and into the pump chamber.
I don't think, part of the reason why I recommended they consult the sewer and water department, and they seem to wanna do it, is because of the odor issues that they've had, and whether this would exacerbate it. I will check with them and let you know whether they intend to follow through with that.
But like you said, and I'm, the other thing I wanted to say, that you have to think about a car wash. When it rains, there's no water going in or out of this car wash, because nobody washes their car when it's raining. When it's snowing, no one's washing their car. The car wash business in the Northeast, their busy time is the winter, not the summer. So when the town's low flows are during the winter and their high flows are during the summer because of irrigation and other outdoor use, so it's kind of fits in with the way, with this, the way the water is used in Walpole, so.
Just wanna make it clear, any peer review regarding that's not under this board.
No, I know, I just didn't know whether they wanted to, how they wanted to arrange it, and they really didn't say. We'll figure that out.
Yeah, we can talk with Rick, you and I, Maggie, and see.
Okay, waiver was requested for the traffic study, and if the board approves the waiver, the only thing I would request that you require is field measured site distances. And I would imagine Mass Highway's gonna ask for those anyway. Let's see.
But we don't really, Mass Highway, we don't get a say on how many cars, they're the ones controlling everything here, right?
As far as curb cuts and everything, yeah.
In site distances and traffic.
In this particular case, yes. If you could go over on page 6 of 10, where you show the plantings, just make sure that anything you put at the entrance is of a sufficient height that it doesn't obstruct drivers' viewpoints.
Right. You're saying any signs or?
Signs or plantings, yes. Because on page 6 or 10 shows some planted, I just wanna make sure that there isn't
Right.
anything that's gonna be placed that'll block. Okay. You went over the reclaim tank and soap and all, and that's all I have to, we did meet and go over some of the drainage questions, and at some point when the revised plan is submitted, I'll pare this down.
Joe?
Okay, thank you. John, on the application, the site plan, the applicant signed as the property owner. Is he in fact now the property owner, or should the property owner be the De Cristoforos or somebody from representing Pine Street Revocable Trust?
The only thing I can tell you, Mr. Marasky, is I asked Mr. Shelby about that himself. Mr. Shelby is an attorney,
Okay.
and he said that his signature on there, and because he has a purchase and sales agreement, is the same as the owner's signature.
All right. It's interesting.
He's an attorney.
Well, yeah,
That's his opinion.
I'm gonna be one, so I can say it.
Yeah, well,
Jeez. That's why he's not the,
Which I
he's not
was-
the owner. We've heard that from other people saying they have a right, like we had for up
I
off the
think
gun club there.
I would
It's
answer
no,
that
you
if-
don't own the property.
yeah, so if you, I can have the owner submit a letter saying that he's satisfied with this procedure. I know the
Okay.
owners are anxious to sell this property.
Okay. On your list of materials being used, the 9 different types of soaps, is that a complete list? There's no other?
That's a complete list.
And of those 9, how many are categorized as either toxic or hazardous materials by the state?
I don't believe any of them are. So did he submit to you I know he submitted it to the Board of Health, what do they call them, the MSDs?
The MSDS's.
We don't have that. And underneath where these are being stored, is that an impervious surface?
So they're stored in the building has a concrete floor on it. And so they're stored in a room that essentially has at least up to a certain extent, has a concrete wall.
Yeah.
There's a door, and they're stored in that room. And as I said, the room has a couple of floor drains in it that connect to the reclaim tank. So if there's a small spill or a spill, that would go through the piping into the reclaim tank, where it's then mixed in with the wash water. I mean, they would certainly not want to have a leak, but if something did leak or something spilled, that's how it's handled.
Okay, and you said when they're delivered, when these chemicals are delivered in 30-gallon drums, are they stored in the containers that they're delivered?
Yes.
Okay. You asked for a waiver of, for a traffic study.
Yes.
You Xed off have traffic having a construction impact and a long-term impact. Is there a particular reason why you want a traffic waiver?
I don't think that the town hall has any jurisdiction
Oh.
over the traffic.
Is there any accidents in that area is what I'm more concerned about. I'm not after a traffic impact study, but I would like to know if there's any accidents in that area.
I can't answer that for you right now. I mean, if you'd like me to pursue that, I could. But,
Well, I think you're coming back anyhow. I'm not,
okay, so you want to know how many accidents, like per year or something, at
yeah,
Pine Street
just,
Route
and
1?
it doesn't have to be over a long period of time, maybe within the last year or so. Or if it doesn't look like there's any within the last 6 months, you don't have to go beyond that.
John, you might wanna make sure it's not like after Patriots game when it spikes up. 'Cause that is
Those are all rear-end jobs.
You said it's mostly the same amount of water used as a household. Okay, on a year, are you saying that on a yearly basis?
Correct, because there are sometimes, if the system malfunctions, you know, he may use a few thousand gallons of water on that day. But when you, unlike a house mostly, right, most houses use somewhere around 200 gallons of water a day, every day, because people are living there, they get up, they shower, they cook, blah, 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 blah. Here, you're gonna have days, and you may have a week, right, where no one uses the car wash at all. So, on an average, yes, on an average, it averages out to approximately what a household would use.
When I was looking at this and doing my own little research, it said that the average car wash uses about 9 to 15 gallons of fresh water during a wash cycle. Would you say then that's wrong, based upon his reclamation system that he's
Well,
putting in?
So unlike the ones he has in Norwood, which are actually using water for the most part, this one recycles all of the water.
All right.
So you're right. If you ask John how much water does it take to wash one of these cars, 9 gallons of water, but it's all reclaimed water when the system is working the way it's designed to work.
Okay. And under projected revenues, you're saying sewer and water connection fees, sewer and water use fees. You don't specifically say I&I in there. Are you including I&I in one of those other categories? Or are you purposely eliminating it?
Probably just didn't think of it.
But you would agree that I&I would
Is it
be
revenue?
included? I&I
The
will,
revenue, they're supposed to take it and fix something with it. So
well, it's not my job to wonder what they fix with it. It's my job to make sure that the town gets its revenues.
Oh, they're gonna get their revenues. So I probably just didn't think of it. I was
Okay.
filling out the form.
Isn't the I&I based upon bedrooms?
Yeah,
I think for
Based
I
on
think as a
flow.
commercial,
Based on flow.
based on gallons per day.
I mean, bedrooms generate the flow. But
Bedrooms there, right?
yeah, but I think as a
No, but
commercial.
you know,
Should be enough.
we'd have to agree with something with them, like I said. Talking with John and others, you know, on an average, it's a couple hundred gallons a day that this facility will use over a year.
The other thing is, we just got these plans today. And my first look at it, and I thought it was kind of complex with a lot of decision-making. I haven't really sat down and looked at this from a detailed point of view. But when you come in, there's a lot of decisions being made here, circulating around. Can any of that be eliminated or made to a better flow, or is that basically the flow that goes with this particular business? When you come in off of Pine Street, you're either going straight into the pay area, or you could come out and go into the vacuum area, or you could go out and there's another decision where you could go out and exit off of Route 1, where you could use it as a shortcut if you didn't want to
Okay.
stop at the lights.
No, I hear what you're saying, but when you come in off of Pine Street, there's only one place you can go. So we can add that, some arrows and things to the plan. But when you come in off of Pine Street, the only place you can go is here. You
To the
can't-
pay
you can't-
area.
You can't get in here. You need to have your car washed before that gate will open up for you to be able to get into the vacuums.
Okay,
So
so
you can't, you have to go here.
what is stopping somebody coming in from Pine Street and then go bypassing the proposed car wash building, bypassing the vacuum stalls, and then using that exit to go out onto Route 1? And then bypassing the light at the intersection of Pine and Route 1?
Nothing, other than common sense. So I'm gonna tell
Well-
you, I go to the Dunkin'
A lot of
Donuts
that.
at, Route 1 and Union Street in the morning, and every once in a while, yeah, you see some Yahoo drive-through. But, 999% of the people don't take that shortcut to miss the
Pine
light.
Street's
So
a
they're not gonna-
shortcut out of Sharon. It's a highly, in the morning rush
You
hour.
could say that for every corner on Route 1 in Norwood and Walpole. So, I mean, what's to stop them? Nothing's to stop them. I would imagine if John or one of his employees sees a car in the morning that's constantly doing this, he's gonna call the police, and they're gonna wait there, and they're gonna bag the guy when he does it, right? I mean,
All right, coming in, when you cross over Route, off of Pine Street, and you're able to come into the car wash from Route 1, there's a stop area, right? You have a stop,
you're talking coming in here?
yes.
You
Right,
go-
now you wanna go get your car washed.
You go here, you stop.
Right, you
up
stop.
here.
Now, that double line that's on the left, all the way to the stop area, is that a raised curb?
No.
So what's preventing somebody from, I don't know, going out the same side, should that be a raised curb?
I don't think so.
It looks kind of like it could create a accident where it is, but you've got so many decisions. You've got people coming out of the car wash, you have people going into the vacuum stall, you have people going, if they don't wanna go into the vacuum stall, they're going out onto the,
You can only go in the vacuum stall if you've gone through the car wash. You can't just drive there and vacuum your car. You have to go through the car wash.
All right, well, I don't know, it just to me struck me kind of funny in the beginning to look at this and see the potential for a lot of mishaps maybe, and some
Only thing I
people
tell you
taking
is,
advantage of shortcuts.
I met with the Mass Highway, and they looked at this, and Green International, who's the traffic consultant who is handling this for John, PDF'd plans to Mass Highway, and as I said, this was the one, this is the alternative, this was the one that And they understood the plan because I went over with them. This is the one that they were comfortable with.
Okay, thank you.
So you feel you need those two entrances? You don't think that if you entered off Route 1 and just used Pine Street as an exit only?
No. I don't think that's really what would be in anyone's best interest, to put all the cars that use this, that are on Route 1, onto Pine Street to get out.
It just seems like the flow inside would be better if you didn't have people veering in there. So how many bays, is the building just one?
One bay.
It's one.
Right.
Are those three?
Right,
Just if
so-
you could clarify, is that three spots to pull
Right,
in?
3 here, so you're gonna queue up in 3 different lines. You stop, there's a gate, when it's your turn, the gate goes up, I think there's a hump there or something. And then you proceed to the car wash building. And then, behind you will be someone from one of the other queues, from one of the other lines. That gate will go up and they'll be behind you.
You keep saying something, it just, I guess it perked my interest. You keep saying when the system's working the way it's designed to work. Is it an issue? Does it break down often? Is it?
I would guess that it does not break down often, but I didn't want to stand up here and tell you that it never breaks down, and if it does break down, he shuts down. He doesn't shut down. So if it does break down, he is going to use the town's water to wash the cars. So then there'll be water in at that point and water out, right? Because if the system broke down and it can't reclaim, it's gonna be some water coming in and some water coming out. But it's economy, right? And that costs him a lot of money compared to just simply reclaiming the water. So he doesn't want it, the town doesn't want it. But as I said, I didn't want you to get the impression that it never uses town water. But I would say that the use of the town water is minimal, and it's to John's best interest. And if he sells this, it's to someone else, it's to the other person's best interest to use the least amount of water as possible.
Can you just explain again, just because I'm not familiar with it? I have never seen gates at the vacuum area. Are those also going to be arms that go up and down, or?
Yes, not the one, does he have one? There's no gate here, and there's there's a gate here, so as I said, you need to.
Looks like there's one on either end, am I right?
I don't,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't believe that's, could be wrong about that. I guess there is a gate because we put it on there, and
What's the
There's one.
purpose? What's the reasoning behind
that
it?
I don't know, and I'd have to ask John about that, about the second gate, maybe so people can't come in the other way or sneak in or something, but I'll ask him about that.
And you said you can't just use the vacuums?
No, you have to go through the car wash.
Okay. That's it.
Mark?
Yeah, just out of curiosity, expanding on that, why did they decide to limit the vacuum use to a wash only?
I'll ask John about that, all right? I don't.
Just out of
I'm not-
curiosity.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I like the whole project, but I also like to go in and vacuum my car once in a while when my daughter decides to eat chips in the back seat, but I don't necessarily feel like getting a wash, but that's just curiosity.
Well, I guess there may be a way to do that, but I don't think it's, so the vacuums are free. So I think the reason that the vacuums are free is because they're only free if you wash your car. So I'm not sure if there's some way to
No, okay,
pay.
that makes sense.
There's some way to pay and just use the vacuums, but I don't think so. My understanding from my talking with John about this operation is that you need to wash your car and then you can go get,
Yeah, no, it sounds cool. If the vacuums are free, then,
right, the vacuums.
if you've ever pumped $5 a quarters into a vacuum, you might as well get your car washed if they're
Right.
free, right? So,
And so, but why there's a gate here, I'm just guessing it's so somebody doesn't somehow try to sneak through and vacuum their car for free, I'm guessing.
back to the soaps, are there other chemicals used, like Wheelbright,
Well,
tire shine, any of that stuff?
everything that's in that list, there's like 8 chemicals. That
Only
are-
because you said 9 soaps, so I didn't know
Well-
if they were different things or not.
So, I'm into the lingo now, talking with you.
Yeah.
So that's
No,
what
I'm
he,
just,
that's what he
curious.
calls everything, the soaps.
Okay.
So that, but you're right, they're listed in there, they're.
So that's included in the 9. I just wanted to be
Yes.
clear on that. Okay.
Yes.
Is there going to be any kind of a, for a fee detailing area where someone could come in, pay $35 to get their car detailed by an employee? Or is this all automated?
Yeah, just automated car wash, no detailing, nothing. So we don't want that to happen here because it's source control. So this is not a good place to be using soaps, solvents, degreasers outside of the building. You want.
Outside of the
permit-
process,
And
yeah.
your permit should reflect that you want all of this washing of the cars to happen inside of the building, and that the car wash and the stormwater will not come into contact.
Yeah, the detailing is more about waxes, polishes, things like that. So some places offer for a fee, a little extra detailing, and it's just out of curiosity. I don't think it would have an impact on any of the drainage or water management. Just out of curiosity for space, I didn't know if they were gonna do that.
So the permit right now, the request, the application does not include that, so I
Okay.
think that,
And no-
you might be in your best interest when you write your approval to specifically exclude that for now.
And no retail, like Dean Street, nothing like that? Do they still have retail down there in Dean Street? I don't know. like the little-
I believe they do,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
No, none of that, it's just strictly a car wash, that's what the application's for. And as I said, I think if you approve it, your approval probably should reflect that. And that if he does want to do those things, he should come back in front of the board.
and there is a way to get in and then out if you decide, oh, I left my wallet at home, darn it.
Right.
You can do
So
that?
that's what I started to point out. So
Yeah.
even though this is sort of shown as a gate, this is actually just cones that will be
Okay.
placed on the pavement. So if you come through here and your cell phone rings, honey, come home right now, Junior fell off his bicycle, you can just.
Yeah, you're not trapped in there,
You
okay.
can just scoot right out.
Yeah, okay. I like it.
So,
Okay. First thing, so the advertising and the impact statement notes its zones areas 3 and 4, but the plans show 2 and 3.
Oh, did I mess that up? Oh, yeah, area 2 and 3, I'm sorry.
So it's been advertised for water resource protection overlay districts 3 and 4.
Well, we're only working in 3, so nothing's going on.
Well, there's a little something. I don't know.
John,
That could be an issue.
so based upon your contour of that on page 2,
6 of 10.
3, or on 3, you can see it there too.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you are working there because your whole grading plan goes down there too.
Right,
So you're using the whole site.
yeah, most of the site.
Okay, so that's one issue. And I had a question in regards to the impervious structures. On the cover sheet, you noted 36.2%? That's,
On the zoning schedule,
yeah. Now, is that 36.2% of the required 40,000, or that's 36.2% of the 124,000?
yeah, of the 124,000, 36.2%. So you're allowed to cover in the, you're allowed to cover 90% maximum and we're covering 30, of the entire lot, and we're covering 36.2%. So.
Where are you allowed to cover 90? What part of the bylaw you're saying you can cover?
The underlying zoning for the
Highway Business
for the
District?
highway business zone allows you to cover 90%. But because we're in a water resource protection area, we can only cover more than 15% with a special permit from the planning board.
Okay. So can you just kind of go over the impervious areas?
So
So-
there's no impervious areas on the site now.
So this, why I'm questioning, I mean, like 36.2% is more than an acre. So you have more than an acre of impervious?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it's
Okay.
2.86 acres is the total site, so
Yeah.
really, for the most part, you know, all of this, right, all of this
Uh-huh.
is impervious. The building, all of this,
Those roads.
here, so, yeah, it makes sense that that's, if you look at the size of the lot.
Okay. And when you, again, on the development impact statement, you noted proposed gross floor area, and that's only including the car wash building.
Right,
So that vacuum area, it's all open air?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
it's, you know, just paved parking where you park and get out and vacuum your car. It's not undercover.
Okay, okay. Okay. Can you mentioned that it's automated, that the part of the car wash is automated. So can you show me where it starts and where it stops? Like where your car goes onto that track and it moves through the track without you?
Well, without, I have a floor plan, but I've looked at it, about 10 feet or 15 feet inside the building, you're gonna be pulled through. That's where the conveyor grabs you. And then about 10 or 15 feet from the end of the building, the conveyor goes, the hook goes back underground and lets you go. And then that's
Okay,
when you
so
go
it's
back.
within the building. So
It's all-
as those three lines are queuing up, they themselves are gonna navigate around into the building?
Right, right,
Okay,
right. You don't start to get pulled through until you're inside the building, you're about 15 feet inside the building.
okay, okay. And I know you explained this, but could you go over again how the water is reclaimed? How is that process
Right,
done?
so where the conveyor is pulling you through the building, it's open and the floor is pitched to that. So there's like a trench, and that trench then leads with piping to what they call a wash pit.
Okay,
And then the wash pit is connected to a tank here that's the recycling, the reclaim tank, where it's filtered and actually softened and then put back through the system.
okay. So in that filtering system, you're gonna filter out like the soaps?
Well, I would say, as far as the chemicals go, I think somewhat, but I don't know if it takes everything out of it. I think some of it probably does keep going around, but
Okay,
we need sort of a chemist to tell us exactly what that is. But
okay. So.
it is a rather vigorous system, though, because they don't want to be spraying dirty water back onto the clean cars.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Right.
wondering, yeah. And then is it sufficient to remove soaps and other contaminants that are,
I think it takes all of the dirt
Yeah.
out of the water. It takes the solids out of the water, right? So
Okay.
that mostly the water on the other side of the reclaim tank is water without any solid material in it. Whether those soaps actually are, those pieces are actually small enough to all get taken out of the, with the reclaim tank, I couldn't tell you. I'm guessing some of them probably get through, but not enough to, you know, make the water so that it's gonna look dirty on the other side.
Okay. And the idea is to use basically like 100% of the reclaimed water, or are you gonna
That's-
mix it with some fresh water?
No, 100% reclaimed water. It just
Okay.
keeps,
And then is sewer and water, are they gonna look at that system if your reclaimed
think-
tank is sufficient for the amount of water that you need to use? And
yeah, I think they just want some historical data on these types of car washes.
Okay.
To be provided to them, to verify what I told them, which is that this system will use about the same as a single-family house when you look at it on a yearly basis.
Okay. Okay. And the number of vacuum stalls, 21 spaces? There's sufficient need for 21 separate vacuum stalls at one time?
I guess John's hoping so.
Okay. All right, that seems a bit ambitious, but, on the vacuum stalls, usually when they have this kind of thing at a car wash, there's an area for trash, like at each vacuum stall, like a bin or something. Is that gonna be provided, and is there space for that?
Well, it's a good question, and I would say there's space for it, and so I'll ask John if he has a trash bin at each vacuum stall.
Okay, and I tend to agree with Mr. Moraski on the movement through the site. It's very difficult, and difficult to see it on the plan, and I think there's a lot of possibility for people not understanding and going into their lane. As they're coming out of this car wash, for example, if they're going into this vacuum stall area, I would like to see like more of a separation from the traffic coming in from Route 1, coming up, to make sure that those two people don't, collide. You see where you have that stop area coming up from Route 1, and you imagine somebody coming out of that car wash.
Right. So
Is there any kind of barrier,
I really don't think.
median?
I really don't think, it's up to you, but I really don't think you want to put a barrier there. We need to get a fire truck in and out of this place in case of an emergency. So the more we put barriers, the more we're going to have to widen out the pavement, and the more it's going to be harder to access the site for emergency vehicles and things like that. I think we could probably do it with arrows, colored pavement, something like that, to keep people sort of aware of where they need to go, where they want to go, and where they need to go. So signs, arrows, and maybe even sort of a way to color the pavement to lead them to where they want to go. So that
Yeah,
would,
I think as you're coming from 1 up here, you need something to direct them over.
you're
around the
talking about
others.
these people who are
Yeah,
going off here.
Yeah, they're kind of lost when they hit the stop sign, like, you really need direction to let them know to go
Yeah.
up and to the left. And the same with those coming out of the car wash building, to make sure that they know, they can take a right for the vacuum.
Right.
But you're saying they cannot go left and go out Pine Street after they
Yeah, they can go left.
can?
If they can come out here, this car is stopped,
Yeah,
so they can come out here and make that maneuver to leave. So I think
that's a
what we're
little,
not showing
that's a
here are-
tough,
Well, there's
movement.
signs here too when they come out, so I think, well, there's room for signs there. So I think we need to add some signs and some pavement arrows, and like I said, perhaps even, some, a colored pavement or something that that brings them around to the, if that's where they wanna go, and then there'll be a sign, you know, stay on the, you know, whatever he has.
Yeah. I don't know, I'm not sure we should even allow them to go back on Pine Street. It would make more sense to, you know, right turn only, either go to the vacuum or go out. I don't know what the board thinks, but
Then they have
it's
to go
a-
down to, all the way down to
I
where the
know, it's
Lexus
difficult,
dealer is
but
to
the
turn
way the
around.
site is laid out, it's,
If you let the cars come out every direction, make sure you have good cameras inside, because I can't wait to see that conveyor keep going with people stacked up at the end and they start smacking each other, trying to get out through those blowers at the end.
it's a little dicey. If you could look at that again, I'd appreciate it.
I think with some strategically placed cones and proper arrows, I think people will get the
Pavement
gist of where to go.
markings, signs, you definitely need more than what you're showing. I don't know.
Yeah, we can add
It's a-
some,
It's,
we can add some things to the
I don't know.
plan.
convince us that you can turn left safely out of that proposed car wash and go up to Pine Street. Okay. And then I just wanted to comment that the snow storage areas, those are gonna be like just from a pickup truck, basically, like they're in a very awkward area. To the right and left of the vacuum stalls. And that's to keep it away from the water resource area, I'm guessing?
I don't know if there's really any reason to keep it away from the water resource area. You want it to drain out through the drainage system. So we want to sort of keep the snow on the pavement. I mean, generally, the snow storage areas are, you know, most people, when they plow snow, the snow is going to be put along the curb or the edge of the driveway or the edge of the parking area. And then there's times when there's too much snow to do that, and you put them in snow storage areas while the snow melts. So,
So some of it would be plowed off the pavement.
well, they're encouraged not to plow it off the pavement, but at least have the edge of the grassed area around the pavement to slope back to the pavement, so that we can treat it before it gets, you know, off of the site.
I mean, like you said, it's not really gonna be operating too much in the winter.
No, actually,
more
the
in the
winter
winter, yeah.
is his biggest
Feel
time.
the salt on the car.
Winter's the biggest time, but when it's snowing, nobody's going there.
Yeah, but, okay,
You know, John is a hands-on guy. I know he's got his own plow truck that he operates. He's the one who said that's where he wants his snow storage area, so.
yeah. I just wanna make sure that it's sufficient and accessible easily. So. Okay, yeah, those are my questions, thank you.
All right, John, Area 2, who got reclassified? Was it Murphy or was it the rink years ago?
I think it was the rink, to tell you the truth.
Well, you might wanna look there, because if they're reclassified, I mean, how do you jump the line? I mean, that's something for you. I think someone did reclassify over there, and they jumped down from a 2 to a 3, or a 3 to a 4. They did the test pits and everything else they had to do it. So, and I don't know if it was Iorio or not, coming off here, I don't know where the American did it across the street at the last Murphy building there. So, if you check that. Question, what's the speed of the car wash? I don't need miles per hour, but number of cars, how much they go through.
I would be guessing, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
you're gonna need that, because I'm gonna go a little bit, looking at a little traffic plan is, you come out of the car wash, I know like the one over here with the blower, you're off the, what do you call it? Conveyor. And
Right.
everybody they take their little sweet time to get that last little burst of air, but I'm thinking, you come out and you're stopped, how far is the next car behind you? And when you're queuing up, coming out, and how big a queuing distance is that from when you're out of the building to before you get into the traffic pattern? Are you 1, 2 cars? But also, how many cars per hour going through that, or?
I understand your question. The space between the, how fast do they go through and how much space is there?
I look at this like Dunkin' Donuts. What's the queuing? How many cars? You know, they got so many X amount they gotta do in an hour. What can this do at the max? I understand what this is about. You're on your way to work and you got your car's all full of salt. You just pull in, pull out, boom, you're gone. We're not looking for the detailing. So that means you wanna turn over a lot of volume, which is fine, but I just wanna make sure that you have the capacity in there. We're not gonna get too blocked somehow, especially coming out. When you come out of that, is there a little confusion? Maybe the first couple times you're there, I can understand that. After that, you should know, but if you get a lot of people undecided,
Yeah, okay.
so you get that little, that would be the issue on the speed of which they come through. It also looks like you can probably accommodate the world. This is like modeled after Southwest Airlines. You only got one door, but you got 3 queuing things, and everybody's going like this. So it feels like you're going fast, but you're really not. So that's, I understand what the business aspect is, but just in between cars.
No, it's a good question. So you're looking at it for safety from the cars leaving?
Well, I'm looking for the queuing coming out of the thing, and they're gonna make a decision left or right, go back to Pine Street, come up, but how much
Right.
time does the guy get the guy behind him? Or you're gonna get
There's
leaned
another
over?
guy coming
hits
from
him,
one.
Before the guy behind him hits him.
Correct.
Okay.
And are you 1 space, 2 space, what is that? I mean, if you tell me the guy's got 30 seconds, well, yeah, I mean, you should be able to make a decision in 30 seconds, shouldn't be driving, but if it's only like 5 seconds, that isn't gonna do it, I don't
Okay.
think.
You know, I'd love to answer for you, but I'd be guessing, so why don't we get John?
Yeah, no,
John
it-
knows, and he'll tell us
That's,
exactly.
yeah, to know how the whole flow is. I would assume that the business plan always has notes or has calculations on based upon what is the max this can handle.
Right, no, I'm sure it does. I'm sure he can answer this question.
Yeah, and what you wanna make sure is, and I'm not gonna tell you guys business, but you wanna make sure that the max equals everything all the way through, cause you don't wanna have your queuing coming in at the 3 bays more than what you can service through in that time, because then all of a sudden everybody's spilling back on Pine Street. So everything's a nice flow.
Right.
Okay? Those are my only 2.
I have one other. John, on this, coming out of we come out of the car wash, what kind of alert system do you have so people know that only the people who are coming out of the car wash can use the vacuum system? So a person who comes in off of Pine Street who may wanna use the vacuum system, they may now go up to it, and then that kind of bollockses up the entire exit system there. So, is there something that says you can, vacuum system only for the car wash, with the car wash?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So I'll talk to John.
John, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to walk us through it. We're all dumb.
Well,
How do we get there? And how do we know that we can go into get a vacuum?
Right.
You're gonna have to walk us all the way through it.
Right,
This is your car wash.
Right, so I think the gate for and I can't really answer your question 100%, but the gate, you can't get the gate for the vacuum to open up unless you've gone through the car wash. So
What
But
triggers
once
that?
you're there, then you're stuck. And then there's a car behind you, and you need to
you mean
warn.
if you just drive to the vacuum?
Yeah, you're like, oh, I heard there's a new
No,
car wash, I'm gonna
and
go get
that's-
my.
That's Joe's question, so I understand that. So I'll ask John, is there a sign that says,
But-
you must, no vacuums unless you wash your car or
But
whatever?
okay, then what opens the gate? How are they gonna know whether you wash your car or not? You gotta get out, you gotta put a chip in, you gotta do something. It's the whole flow of this whole thing, how it works, so you can see how it all work together, so that we don't end up with cars, hanging on Pine Street, cause they just all queued up, the 3 of them. Or more importantly, coming out.
No, they're all legitimate questions, and John wanted to be here, but something happened, so he just
Well-
couldn't. So,
I mean, for all, from a business point of view, I don't think there's a car wash in Foxborough or a car wash in Sharon. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's a car wash until you get on the other side of 495. So the likelihood of a lot of people using this car wash is pretty good. This is a good business setup for your applicant. However, I think you have to, all these questions about the process of how how this is going to occur, I think it's very important that you have to explain that, because we don't want the traffic backing up into Pine Street, and we don't want the traffic backing up onto Route 1 either.
of course, he would be ecstatic if he even thought that it would come near to that, but they're all good questions, and they're good for him, too, to
course they are.
think of these things before the place opens and make sure he's, as much as he can, be under control, right, when it opens. So
And I'm gonna continue, I don't wanna beat a dead horse, and okay to ask
Yeah.
questions. You can come up after we're done, sir, I see you, okay? Also gotta prove you got enough vacuums. If you're spitting out,
Okay,
200 cars an hour,
okay.
people don't vacuum at, a minute, so how does this all, there's gotta be a nice balance. And I would say that the vacuuming would be your worst case, because you can control the speed of the car wash, but you can't control the speed of somebody with a vacuum. Unless they're paying quarters, and then they're gonna be cheap, but if it's free, they're gonna be vacuuming their engine, they're gonna vacuum the back of their pickup truck.
No, I'll ask him. I don't think it goes forever.
But-
I don't think it's just free, like you just stay there forever and keep vacuuming and.
But there's a whole, this to me is an assembly line at a General Motors plant. You can only go as fast as the slowest thing, okay? Okay,
Is it operational when there's no attendant present?
No.
It is
There's,
not. So
no,
this
there's
set
always at least one attendant, and there's usually 2 or 3 people here
So
that,
they have their regular hours, and when the guys go home at night, it's closed up.
it's
and
closed.
can't be used.
This is not an operation where, unlike other ones that are open and you can just go there and get your car washed. It's, if there's no one there, it's closed. So,
you all set?
And the only other thing is, there's no signage anywhere. I didn't see.
What, out front?
yeah, so as far as the sign, so I asked, he's been working with the company that's sort of, I don't know if this is a franchise or whatever, but there's gonna be a sign here, and before the next meeting, we'll get you
Okay.
the size of the sign, what it looks like, what it says on the sign, how many posts are holding up the sign, the whole thing, like, like at Dunkin' Donuts, the whole signage thing, but apparently there's someone else he needs to get this from, and he hasn't been able to get it at this point.
All right. Sir, you had a question if you come up here? No, I need you to come up and name and address for the record, please.
Oh, sir, thank you. My name is Roy Milpelt, president of the Friends of Adams Farm. With all due respect, I was told the 1350 home on North Street would be presented at 8 o'clock tonight,
Yeah,
and I honestly don't know the agenda and how we're
okay.
putting in the saving the most historic home in
Okay,
Walpole.
well, we go in order. This was ahead of,
I just wasn't sure.
yeah, this will be heard after. Yeah, we continue till we're done.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. Any other questions? You waving at me, Dave, or you have a question?
Not waving at you, Jack. Dave Meatley, 17 Whiting Ave. First of all, there's at least 1 or 2 accidents at Route 1 and Pine Street per month. You get Patriots games, a lot of traffic. It screws up Pine Street, either side, all the time. Pine Street is a very thin street. On the Sharon side where the proposed entrance is, you have the preserve that comes out. You also have the ramp that comes out from Route 1 North to either take a left or a right onto Pine Street. You have a school bus stop at the preserves. What are the hours of this business?
I can find out for you, but I'm
Well,
guessing
you got a school bus stop there. It's gonna be 3 or 4 times a day between kindergartners, high school people, and the junior high. Okay, that's unsafe. The blowers coming off of blowing the car, the water off of a car does great on the top. but it does nothing for the underneath of the car. The water comes off of cars coming out of a car wash. I've seen it from Rojo's. You're gonna have an ice problem. Somebody comes out of there and slides into the bus stop, takes the kids out. I come out of Whiting Ave, which is off of Pine Street. It's clogged there all the time. You have people going, taking the U-turn for the ice rink. There's a problem right there. It's a lot of traffic. Now add in a car wash. People come over Route 1 North. They run the red light all the time. People coming out of that car wash, it's gonna be an accident. The first thing, I don't understand why there should be a entrance and exit on Pine Street, because the road is so thin as it is. There's too much congestion there. And like somebody else said before, you may go in there a couple of times, you're gonna be confused. Everybody's confused. And you add a thing like all that, you got 21 vacuums there, that's a lot of noise. Again, with the hours, we hear the Patriots game, we hear the concerts. We're gonna hear vacuums. What's with the lighting? Is the lighting gonna be on all night? What's the security? And as for the reclaim tank, one tank is gonna handle that many cars as a recycle. It's gonna be a big tank.
But that's designed by the people who designed
Well,
it.
it's gonna have to be a big tank, because if you're expecting that many cars to use that much recycled water, and where is that water going to? When we had the preserve put in, we had a problem on Whiting Ave with water and a smell. Now, you know, and 250 gallons a day of water, that doesn't make sense. You use a lot more than that at a car wash. I'm not a car wash expert, no, but think about it. That's an awful lot of low water.
So the water's constantly reclaimed, it's not.
Right, but you only have one tank. How big can that tank be to reclaim that many cars? You're saying he's gonna get a lot of business? You're gonna have to be a big tank.
How many gallons per minute is that filtering?
Right. One tank, that's too small. But my major concern is the safety of the kids at the Pine Street exit and entrance. And the cars are gonna be wet when they come out. I've seen it at Rojo's, they are wet. You're gonna have an ice storm. Where's all the snow going when they plow the parking lot? Those two containment areas are too small to hold all that snow. Is it gonna go out on the highway? Is it gonna be a visual problem? But like I said, there's a lot of accidents there per month. You're gonna come up, somebody's gonna run a red light, somebody's gonna pull out of there, they're gonna hit the ice, we're gonna have tragedy. It's just, doesn't make sense. Thank you.
Jack, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
John, he brings up a point about the ice and the coming out of the, if the blower's not working. What kind of ice melt is gonna be used? And we're now in an area, aquifer area 3, 4. Is that prohibited in that aquifer area, ice
I don't
melt?
think there's any prohibition, but the Conservation Commission, and I believe this board, under the special permit, can require him to use calcium chloride rather than sodium chloride, or some other environmental friendly de-icing material. And I understand, and I've been to Rojo's often, but this is not the same system that's at Rojo's.
All right, one of the questions he brought up is hours of operation.
Yeah.
We're gonna need that, but I also would like to see, because your business plan, meaning when is the peak?
Yeah.
All right, I mean, I would hope that your peak is not 3:10 on a Monday through Friday during school, and that, you know, if from history or whatever it tells you from this business is when you guys do the most business, just to everybody understand, do we have issues there? He brought another point about, you know, you have a guy throwing calcium chloride, how well will that go? The point is, maybe you look into, unless you already have it, you have blowers that do underneath the car, then you eliminate that problem. You know, you're talking a few extra blowers, I guess, rather than have a guy running out with a 5-gallon pail of salt every time. It's something to look at, but those are questions to bring up. They do have, so Dave understands, we do have a lighting plan that shows that you get nothing across the street. The other thing, since you are using vacuums, you should at least tell us what the decibel levels are with it, like you did your lighting plan. How far, and at that point, what is this decibel equal to? And at nighttime, I mean, at winter, shouldn't be most issues to most people because everything's shut. But the fact is, then the other point brings out is, unless, I know you're familiar with it, Dave, school bus stop down at the bottom right there at that hilltop.
It's right at Hilltop Drive.
So it's right at the bottom of the,
Yes, it's
Okay.
where his proposed entrance is, it's right
okay,
off
so you're right
the
across
street
from
on
it.
the right.
Yeah, okay, tough spot.
Are they asking for a waiver on the traffic? On the
Traffic
traffic study?
study.
Yeah, but
They're asking for a waiver on that?
Take a peek, there's 30 kids there in the morning.
It's a busy intersection.
Given what the gentleman said, I'd be inclined
When it
to,
snows, that road
Want to
becomes
see a
real
traffic
narrow,
study.
too. We gotta,
no, I
So it's
understand.
already hired green, right?
Also, Jack, the center line of the exit entrance is offset from Hilltop Drive.
Well, it's not a subdivision road, so that, it's a driveway, there's no.
Well, but just like considering traffic,
That's,
creates issues.
that's where the Mass Highway told us to put it.
Okay,
So we didn't really, like I said, it was a little bit of a process to get the curb cuts placed in the area where the Mass Highway engineers and permit engineers wanted them to be placed.
I mean, we need the traffic, I understand, is under the state, but as far as now we're talking about bus stops and across the street, need to know what the anticipated, number of vehicles coming that could use that at any given time. Could be as simple, John, if it's too many, that they just shut it down for that half hour in the morning, half hour at night, that's all. You got enough gates there, you could. I mean, then that is something to consider right there. My guess is you wouldn't have it in the morning, but at night, I would say that there's an opportunity. And I had a feeling they stopped right there. And I know as you go further, yeah, Pine Street's tough anyway. But if you could, we need to know that, and it could be is that there's a moratorium during that time unless there's some other mitigation, which would be as simple as just shut that down for that half hour. They can still come off of Route 1.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
I'd be interested to know, though, in a traffic study, what that really looks like down there at that Pine Street, because, you have a lot of people that work in Walpole Park South. They don't all come from the north, so they're coming they're coming northbound, getting off that ramp, taking a left, and then waiting at that light to go across. You got people coming out in the morning to go to work, and then you're gonna have people trying to come out of that car wash. So, I mean, I'm put in a position where, being also on Economic Development Commission, I want to see businesses come into Walpole and flourish, but not at the expense of everyone around them. So I'm not saying it can't work. I'm saying that I want it to work, but I also would love to see a traffic study to see what we're really dealing with there, as opposed to, no offense, John, I like you a lot, but I don't want to take anyone's word for it. I want to actually see what's going on there in the morning, because I'm not there every morning, but these people are. And it'd be tough to make a decision without data to understand exactly what's going on there at certain times of the day. Just my 2 cents.
No, it makes sense. So let me talk to John, and maybe Green can provide to you some sort of an outline of what they could do based on what the neighbors are saying and based on what the concerns would be, maybe to identify, better, where and when the problems will be without doing sort of a full-blown traffic study. There's probably enough information from Mass Highway on that intersection now where they can kind of, tell you what's going to happen. I'll talk to the, Bill Scully there from Green and see what he says.
Just so you understand, John, very simple, it is an issue down there. They brought up some very good, valid points. I don't care where the state tells you to put it, but we don't have to allow it. So take that in consideration. We can just shut you off. If you can't make everybody happy, make everything work, then we say, you got in and out. We don't have to give you anything more. And, oh, by the way, is that still scenic road right there?
I don't know.
Sure, Pine Street is still scenic. I know it got wiped out during the thing, so, okay. So there's a few things there, okay? So that's to be considered, that this is a little issue. I mean, would it optimize, you know, if I wanted the business, I'd love it off Pine Street, but you gotta answer all the questions for all of us, especially the people who live there.
There's a ton of scenarios that, you know, making that, the way it's laid out now, problematic. You know, people come off Route 1 and they're waiting to take a left into the car wash when people are backed up at that light. So now people are backed up coming off that ramp. And then someone trying to come out of that entrance, it could be a nightmare, and not just at rush hour, in the way I see it. If that entrance on Pine was only an entrance, and only from the Sharon side of things, and then everybody had to go out on Route 1, I think that would eliminate 3/4 of the problems, but that's up to them to decide what they want to propose.
I think you're just pushing the problem if there is a problem, you're just pushing it somewhere else if you do
Well,
that.
you gotta come back to us.
There's no
and-
way to go southbound if you're just gonna come out onto Route 1, right?
Really, there's no way to go
That's the
southbound.
Well, I mean, you gotta go
You
down
can't-
to
you gotta
the
go
next
down,
intersection,
turn around,
you
and come
gotta go
back.
down Common Street and turn around and take a left.
Kinda like you do at Rojo's now.
Kinda like you do everywhere. But for years, we argued the state, we didn't have it.
Can I just answer that? That's not true. At Rojo's, you can get out onto Everett Street just by going around and behind the building.
They were most of them though.
Okay, what,
I go all the time.
okay, well,
How long do you wait?
okay, whoa, come on, please. All right, did you have a question, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Name and address for the record?
Angelo Anello, 8 Cranberry Lane. My question relates to, gentleman brought up the point of possibly down the road, a self-service
Yep.
option or bay being put in there. If that's the case, what are the hours of operation for that?
It's not in front of us. They'd have to come back. They'd have to start this all over again, do a whole new thing.
And I do live close to Hilltop. I'm one street down from Hilltop. I can tell you right now, we're asking for trouble with any of these entrances and exits. I know this thing's pretty much a done deal from an economic standpoint, but from a traffic standpoint, it's going to be ugly. You got the 300 units at Hilltop Drive, and now we just put in a 55 and older community that you know, just opened, and it was just developed. And I don't know how many units are in there, but I mean, it has got crazy there in the morning and in the evenings. Between that and the hockey rink, I mean, it's, and you throw a car wash in the mix, it's not going to work. Cars aren't going to move. You're going to have a log jam of cars in all directions. I'd love to see if there was any way to have the car washers have the entrance and exit on Route 1 only. Route 1 only. Love to see what that looks like. That's my 2 cents.
All right. Anyone else?
I just want to emphasize, I'm sorry, Lee. Pat Straccia, 12 Ganawatt Drive, live around a block from Angelo. There is a residential neighborhood back there. It's an over 55. There's a couple streets there. It's also Sharon. That corner, just to reiterate what he says, is a quirky, weird intersection. There's cars coming off of Route 1 at a high rate of speed. They come out. They're either going to the preserve or trying to take a turn back onto Route 1. There's trucks that turn over there. That exit or that access point is a terribly placed access point. It's going to create confusion, logjam, traffic, accidents. There's always accidents on that corner because people don't understand it, and this is just going to add to the confusion. Plus, there is a bus stop across the street. It is a scenic road. It's a narrow road. In the wintertime, that road gets very, very narrow because the snow starts to pile up on the banks. You got to consider that. Where is the snow going to go? There's the Neponset River discharge down there as well. You could try to contain all the water from these cars, but let's be realistic. There's a lot of it that either sprayed out in the atmosphere or runs off the bottom of that car into what we drink for water in this town. So you got to consider all this kind of stuff. It's a bad spot. I'd rather be just straight Route 1 somewhere else. It's a terrible location. I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people in our neighborhood. So
Okay.
that's our
Thank you.
concerns.
Anyone else? If not, need an extension, John?
Sure.
Well, you're gonna tell me when you think you get all this together.
Okay, so let me just, you want a traffic study, some sort of
Well, whatever you're doing for the state, you can give it to us, but it also can see what's focused down here, what you've found.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to
Site
feel off the
movement.
board. So you would like to see, maybe not a full-blown, but to see exactly what these people are
I don't-
asking for.
I don't
Where's the
think anybody
peak?
cares
What's gonna
about Route
happen
1.
with the school?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think we
with
care
the
about
use.
Route 1, you care about Pine Street. That's,
Yeah, no,
that's the whole thing,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Unless people start banging lefts off of Route 1 southbound to get in there, to beat the light.
Yeah, but like I said, you could do that at every intersection along Route 1.
Okay.
And there are people who do it.
Right.
But
Now, Maggie, who deals with the tanks and the review and all that, of the recycled water? Is that stormwater management? That come under us? That come under sewer and water?
You mean the recycled water for that?
Yeah, that's,
We've never had something like that before.
who would do it?
we presented to the Board of Health.
Probably the Board of Health.
Board of Health? Okay.
They were satisfied.
I'm assuming it's
John went to both meetings and answered all their questions and again gave them the information that they asked for. Your concern under your special permit is that the stormwater management system meets the Mass DEP, because that's what your zoning is tied to. But that, not to, cut you out of that deal, but that also includes, if you read the, good reading at night when you want to go to sleep quick, the stormwater management regulations, there is a whole section on source controls,
Well,
right?
okay.
It just makes sense, right?
The other-
Don't let the junk get out into the catch basins and you don't have to worry about it.
Well, we'll
So-
figure it out from our end, John, as long as you present the stuff. The big bugaboo here is now you're in an area 2, things may change.
And it was advertised 3-4, what about
Well,
that?
the only thing going on,
Yeah.
the area 2 is going to be grass. There's
Jump,
nothing
channeling
changing.
the inner joke.
But it's all part of, you just can't pick and choose, it's one whole site, so.
John, I'm assuming that this is like a franchise, that this company installs these car wash systems
Yes.
as a package, and the Rojo folks are happen to be buying into this franchise. Is that the way it
I don't
works?
know if it's a franchise, but it's
It's a system that's
It's a
used.
system,
Like they're not inventing it themselves. This is something, okay.
No, and that's why I say, we'll provide you with some more literature, because it's like a package deal.
Sure.
So you buy this thing, you're buying, they're gonna build the building for you, they're gonna put all of this stuff in place. And because it's not just the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, it's every state in the United States, because of the, EPA is under certain requirements to treat any water
Right.
that's used or comes in contact with pavement or rooftops or
Sure,
whatever.
Sure, so,
This company's come up with a design which uses 9 gallons of water for each car, washes the car, and their claim to fame, none of that water is going to leave that building.
yeah, just to kind of address what the gentleman said before, assuming that there's a way that we can handle this traffic issue the right way and the safe way, I think that the system being used has been vetted enough that it has documentation that it can do what it says it can do. So I think that that's something that is less worrisome, quite frankly, than the traffic situation, but, okay, thank you.
And they're not the same, right? They're not the same as the ones that he owns in Norwood. Those
Sure.
ones were built 40 years ago. They're not, it's not the
Right.
same.
How long, you tell me how long you get your
Well, I'd
together.
say it's gonna be, if we probably, Green International isn't gonna move that fast, so it's gonna be 30 days.
Oh, I expected all of that.
Yeah.
I expected probably you'll be here the same night we do Pinnacle.
Could be.
So why don't we do it just to the end of December, and we can give you a date in November? First one.
Okay.
That's only a month away anyway.
Are you doing the 15th of November?
No, what's on the first?
Grandma?
You be ready by the 1st November? first meeting? Yes, 100%?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we need extension through,
December 31st.
December 31st?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to allow the applicant to, accept the applicant's extension up through December 31st, 2018.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstain. And we will continue this on November 1st. It is November 1st. At what time?
7:30 and 7:31 is right now.
No, after. 7:30, yeah, 7:40.
What are we gonna do between 7 and 7:30?
We got in those jams the other night and we were here forever.
Playing cards.
Oh, we're playing cards, cool, okay.
Okay, all right, we'll continue this public hearing
Kenny,
on November 1st, at, what is it, 7:40 and 7:41. Thank you. Remember, 2 weeks ahead of time, John, 14 days, you have all your stuff in to us, right?
Yes. So, Kate, you don't need a letter, then you voted, do you need a?
No, we need it. We were accept,
To the
just like you wrote for John. Or didn't you, yeah,
Yeah,
same yellow pad.
all right.
Okay. All right, moving on. Okay. We'll bang this one out. Unless someone's here, okay. The hour being after, well after 7:50, we have a continued public hearing for 100 Rustic Road. Anybody here for Rustic Road? Okay. All right, given the fact that the applicant is not here, given the fact that they haven't asked for an extension, given the fact that they have never produced a plan that is according to all the rules and regs, we have no other choice than to deny it. So I'll make a motion to deny based upon those factors.
second.
Any further discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, you want 5, anybody, or?
No.
No? Okay. Now, moving on. We have- Let's call this one. Moving on to 1350 North Street. We have a continued public hearing. With that being said,
Could you explain that a couple of people had called about town council, and I didn't have anything until I walked into
Yeah.
that at 7,
that's fine.
just so they know.
We'll deal with it. Yep. Okay, with that being said, 1350, ready, start? All right.
And a new traffic study came in this morning.
Okay. What we were supposed to have been doing tonight, okay, go ahead, John. We're gonna talk about traffic, can't talk about traffic because we just got the traffic study back, correct?
Right, because, you know, probably really wasn't thought through at the last meeting, but, you know, you can't really take the traffic counts until after Labor Day, and then you have some, at least some time that needs to be done to put the study together. So it was highly unlikely that it was, or impossible really, that it would be, submitted in the 2-week period prior to tonight.
Okay, the next phase of this was supposed to be the battle of the legal. And we just received this today at 3:31 by our lawyer from Copeland and Page. And given the fact that nobody's had a chance to read it on our board, nobody out there has had a chance to see it because it just came in. And what he has recommended that he would like to be here for an extension of time and do it all as being here.
This is the town.
Copeland Page, yeah. It's a very long, this much, okay? So, we're gonna have to do traffic anyway, so we're gonna have to, that would be my suggestion for us, the board, to have our attorney here. Yes. Sarah, Mark, Nick?
Oh, sure, yes.
Okay. All right, so we were gonna have to set a hearing in the future for traffic and attorneys, okay? All right, so, with that being said, and this will be available for everybody, I don't wanna read it, because if I read it wrong, you'll get the wrong impression. And it just goes into about daycare, but also goes into, other thing about grandfathering, and rather than get into it, it's better, because if I start reading it, everybody wanna discuss it, and like I said, no one's had a chance to do it, so everybody get a copy of this before the next time, and we'll be able to tackle that at that point. And traffic, so, what will, aside from that, John, what will you be presenting tonight?
I really don't have anything to present tonight. I met with Bob LeBlanc to make sure that I understood and he understood exactly which trees qualified as street trees. So we'll be filing for that scenic road hearing probably tomorrow. And there really were no substantial changes made to the plans that you have in front of you, so.
Okay.
Can I ask, what's the status of the septic tank design?
So the Board of Health has asked us to do we did some additional testing there on yesterday, actually. We were gonna do it Tuesday, but Lawrence came by and told us, wait till Wednesday. The soil testing was, for the most part, the same as what was done, originally, so that plan will be submitted to the Board of Health soon. And we don't anticipate any issue with that. And don't take this the wrong way, but, so when we do revise the plan, I'm just gonna show the area as the septic leaching area rather than show all of the components of the system, et cetera, because certainly the Board of Health's area of expertise, so I don't want to really kind of convolute this with a septic system plan as part of the plans.
That leaching field, does that go out into the backyard? Does that, I was reading this little thing today, and it says that you had, I guess it was submitted back in July, but it says that the state requires a certain amount of square footage for play yard area. Does that have any effect on the leaching?
If little kids go out there and start digging down with their.
I don't know. Will the state allow a
It's
play
kinda
yard
funny.
area on top of a leaching field?
Someone else asked me about that, and I just, I did a septic system on Fisher Street up by my house, and sure enough, there I go by, and there's the septic system, and there's a jumpy house on top of it, and 40 or 50 people outside there, so my answer is, it has absolutely nothing to do. There's no reason why you can't have a play yard or a jumpy house or anything on top.
Okay, I just was not familiar with the state requirement on that, because if you look at that book, they're quite specific on a lot of things.
I'll look at that book, but as far as Title V goes, there's no restriction on, as far as that goes. They don't want you to pave it or to, have a shed on it or some permanent structure, but as far as people walking on it, playing ball on it, whatever.
Okay.
All right, I know you haven't filed it, you said you're gonna file it tomorrow, so, but I always like taking on the 1,000-pound gorilla, 800-pound gorilla in the back of the room. John, you already have an entrance there. You're not entitled to another entrance through the stone wall. That's gonna be my vote. I don't see any way
Okay.
around it.
Okay.
And the simple fact is, I view it as my own property, so why would I let you take my stone wall down so you get an extra one? So, and I don't believe, I haven't found anything in the scenic road that says, I know you're allowed because you can't stop somebody from doing it, because they gotta access their property, but that's just gonna be my feeling, so just be prepared, I guess.
Yeah.
Seems like you already are.
Well, you mentioned that at the last time, so we've discussed that, and, we'll weigh our options on that.
Okay. The only thing I have in here is, new stuff, is I'd asked Maggie for some information. Okay, Fisher School, I want to know, bus number 4 at North and Bubbling Brook. Fisher School, bus 4 picks up 3 students. Johnson, bus 10 picks up 1. High School, bus 8 picks up 1. There may be a student, 1 or 2 students who hasn't registered, but this is what we're looking at. So we're looking at anywhere from 1 to 3 students, so it could be 2 to 5 at Bubbling Brook. I'd ask that, so that might be, that should be a factor in your report if it already isn't. I don't have anything else new from anybody, other than that letter, and we'll give everybody a copy they want. Kate is off tomorrow, right? So, on Monday, okay, anybody in the audience? But, continuing on, it's still an open hearing. Is there anybody that has something to say, sir?
Hi, Roy Nopel. I don't live at Adams Farm, but I somewhat wish I did. It's 44 Wheelock Avenue in Norwood. But I am the president of the Friends of Adams Farm. Hope to see you hiking out there soon. Very, very briefly, I find nothing funny about children playing on a leaching field, so thank you, sir, for mentioning the very apparent, in my opinion, fact that there's no room for a leaching field with human waste to also have children playing in a safe environment, so thank you. I'm finding a consistent theme of the side that wishes to demolish the most historic home in Walpole with building a commercial property. You know, the first time I was here, the gentlemen that were sitting over there, I assume they were lawyers, but I'm not sure. But the first words out of their mouth was essentially telling you as a committee what you should and have to do. And I came up here and I apologized on their behalf. I find your questions at every meeting I attend pertinent, important to the town of Walpole, of safety, and also business. And just again, in closing, I found the humorous comment about children playing on a cesspool consistent with a disregard of your committee. And I'm sorry for it. Your committee is asking very pertinent questions, and I thank you all. So so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Can I just say one thing, Mr. Chairman? There's no plan. Yeah, there's no plan for children to play on a cesspool.
All right, anyone else? Questions, comments? You? Yep, come on up.
I'm Sue Shockett, 1340 North Street. One thing, I know you're not getting to the traffic study today, but when you are reviewing it, the dates, from looking at the traffic on North Street, any data that was gathered prior to September 11th is not going to be a reflection of regular weekday traffic. So I think people were going by Labor Day, but I can tell you without any doubt, Charlie backed me up on this, September 12th, the traffic started backing up again.
When did school start?
School started in Walpole on,
Like August 29th.
August 29th.
thank you, I have two kids, I should know that one.
There were several half-days.
Half days, right, it was half days, there was a heat issue with, the schools are not air conditioned, so there were half days, and then, there was a Jewish holiday on September 10th, and the private schools did not start full schedules until, I believe, there's a large number of private school students in Walpole and the surrounding towns, and I believe most of the private schools weren't on their regular schedule until the 12th.
Okay.
So, just wanted to know.
Okay, anyone else?
Thank you.
Dave Allen, 13.
Whoa.
You guys approved the September 4th traffic date.
Whoa.
It was pushed to September 4th,
Look.
September 5th.
Do you want to get into it with me? I don't think you do.
not getting
You
into
you are.
it.
You walked in here, cut in front of that woman, and just blurt it out of your mouth. You don't do that. Do you understand? Do I have to call the police? I've done it
haven't been
before
up
to
here
other applicants.
More than once to speak. Dave Allen, 1350
No,
North Street.
you're not being
I have a
recognized.
right
You're
to
not
speak.
being recognized. You don't have a right to speak.
I have a right to speak.
Oh, really?
Yes, I do.
Well, when you start behaving.
The owner of this
Oh,
property.
good
I
for
have a
you.
right to
When you
speak.
start behaving, sir, then you'll get to speak. Not until such time.
I haven't said one
No, I'm
word
ta-
to you, Jack. One word.
Did
I
you
haven't
come
said
running
to
in
you.
there and cut that woman off? Were you recognized to speak? Did you ask me to speak?
People just get up and speak.
I recognize people.
Fine, I'll wait to be recognized.
Go sit down. I don't put up with stuff like that. Ma'am?
Hi, I'm Nancy Berkeley, 1326 Old North, and I just want to explain that this morning I left for work at, it was about 7:50 from my house on Old North, and when I pulled down to Old North, the traffic was stopped all the way, and I couldn't even go any further. So I ended up doing a U-turn and going back down by Walpole Fish and Game and going the back way through Norwood because it was impossible. It was gridlock, so. just wanted-
Okay, thank you. Ma'am?
Hi there, I'm Trish Barajas, 1400 North Street. Again, I like to, with Sue, as far as when they did the traffic study, or appears to do, when they did it with the strips down. A lot of the other towns didn't start school until after Labor Day. And in addition, with the Walpole buses going to stop there, they have the Bubbling Brook stop, which you mentioned the number of children there, but we also have the top of Skyview, which is on the downhill portion of North Street. And then, I'm not exactly sure what time of day, but there is also an additional bus for the Dexter School, where the cars queue up on Skyview. Their bus, I'm not sure in the morning, but in the afternoon it's around 4 o'clock. So, additional bus there. So, again, I'm with Sue. The traffic has definitely picked up. I go to the Norwood train station between like 7:30, and getting out of my driveway, I back in, and I have to like ask people to let me turn left to go towards Norwood. So, and the traffic is backed up past 1350. So, a lot of cars there. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Dave Allen, 1350 North Street. I've been very patient from the beginning. I put an offer on this property back in August. I confirmed with Sam Obar that the maximum demolition delay would be 6 months. Could be much less if we took effort to save the property. We have over 7 pages of attempted giveaways of that property, including to Roy, who misrepresented himself to my daughter, claiming that he had connection with moving companies. Nobody wants this building. It's falling apart. There's not much part of it's left that's 300 years old. Nobody wants it. We had a special meeting. This woman here lied and told
Okay,
the
whoa,
people-
no, we're not going to this. We're not gonna
She
start
said she had
point.
cash buyers. There are no cash buyers for this property.
Okay,
I
I'm gonna narrow
entertained
it
it.
down where it is with this board. We're here for the site plan. I don't care about the house, I'll tell you right. This board doesn't care about the house only because it's not under jurisdiction.
But we listened to Roy talk about the house and how historic
But
it
it doesn't
is.
matter with what your dealings with the house and everyone else would have been with Sam Obar. We can only deal with the site plan in front of us.
Jack, having said
Fair
that, Jack, they have based their argument on the historic nature of this house, and I think he has a right to refute the desire to keep that house, whether it's relevant to us or not.
But the argument is not germane to us. It just gets out there. We can't refuse a site plan because there was a house there. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with that.
So
And
it's a
whether the house is there or not doesn't
Yeah,
matter to
so
me either.
What people have said.
in this
they've
decision.
said. That's all. So I'm
Okay.
just telling you. Okay? Now, you had one other comment earlier about September 7th traffic study. Okay, but I will answer that for you. Very simple. These people came up, gave their opinions. That's fine. It's their opinion. We have our consultant who is going to do it. It's going to be based upon professional engineering. That's how we have to go. I understand they want to talk about that. Yes, can that be taken into account? Maybe, but it's all going to be on professional peer review.
But why did this panel agree to those dates ahead of time? We scheduled people to come do the traffic study on those dates. If you knew that those weren't the appropriate dates.
When did we say they weren't the appropriate dates?
Just now you're saying.
No, we didn't say that.
We didn't say
The neighbors were giving us the update on what they've experienced.
Fair enough.
That's what they,
Fair enough. Everybody has a right to say what they want to
Correct.
say. I'd probably
correct.
assume that you were gonna go with what they're saying, but
Don't ever assume what I'm gonna do, because I'm gonna give the
Just-
God and country speech. I will run a meeting so that I don't screw up to give somebody the wrong, that they did it right and that they get appealed. This board will not do that as long as I'm sitting here. That's what I'm doing. I weigh it like this. This just comes in, and that's the way it goes.
I appreciate fairness.
That's what you get, is fairness, but you gotta just do your job. You know, if
I
we
will
come
do
down
my
to every
job.
box is checked off, I cannot refuse to approve it.
Okay, but
If we got boxes not checked off,
I do expect to be treated fairly like the other centers that have gone in. They haven't had the same requests that we have. I'd just like to be treated fairly.
okay. Yep, everybody. Ma'am?
Stu Shockett, 1340 North Street. I just wanted to respond to Mr. Allen about my integrity that he was questioning. I sent 3 different cash buyers in a very limited time, and I just wanted to point out that.
Okay, but if you just wanna talk to integrity, I understand, and that's,
But if there
but
is
I
somebody
don't
who
wanna
wanted
get
the
back
house.
into one of those.
That's it. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, okay.
No, that's fine, but both of you understand now, is we gotta go. What did he say?
We saw.
What did he say?
Don't deny it.
Did he just say that?
No, he was saying what she said
Oh.
in a note.
Okay. Well.
No, he was.
Okay, I
he was
tell you
saying
what,
something that she
if I
said.
start, I have the right to kick anybody out I want who can't be at the meeting. It's allowed under public, okay? So if everybody starts, gets mouthy, you'll be out for the rest of the time. If you want, sue me personally, but I'm not gonna put up with that crap. I'm amazed through all this, I haven't thrown out the F word yet, but that may come, so. Sir?
Charles Hayes, 1354 North Street. I'd better bite my tongue.
Okay. All right, so, we have a battle of lawyers, I would say, that's the best way to put it, and traffic guys don't really battle, they get along very nicely. I appreciate that. So, I would say we'd need a couple weeks for this, John, at least, so
Yes.
what's our extension?
I need an extension, where are you going with this?
What do we got?
October 18th, I have the amended scenic road hearing for 810 North Street for the 25 feet.
Well, that's a good point you just brought up. John, when are you gonna do your scenic road?
I said I'm gonna file it tomorrow.
What do we got for that? Kate, how long before we have to hear that?
I can do it on the 18th, well, see,
What? I'm just,
I don't know, if we can do it the first of the.
no, the 18th, I'm just saying for advertisement, I don't wanna go under or over what we're supposed to.
I can try.
All right.
When are you filing, John?
Well, I'd like to file it tomorrow. Monday?
Too late in
She's
the-
not there.
Well, but it was on the 18th of October, that's a month away, right?
So I should get, yeah.
Yeah, so we could do it, so we, all right, we have an extension through Halloween?
Sure.
Right on that yellow paper there?
Well, this is another one. I'm
You
gonna
ought to have a
Xerox.
form by now, John.
No, I am. I'm gonna-
You ought to have a pad.
I'm gonna have a pad.
Can you make it out later than 10:31, because,
How to do the decision?
oh, you ready to close on the 18th?
No, we'll just do it to, no, we can always ask for another one, if we're not ready, that's all. If there's more issues, but, extension through October 31st?
Yes.
Okay, make a motion to approve an extension up through October 31st, as requested by Zach. Okay, we have a second. Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Okay, October 18th, what do we got?
705 North Street, that's it.
705, 801 North?
810.
810 North, okay. We'll probably have 2,000 A&Rs to do that night. Well,
Do it to 7, start at 7:30.
Why don't we just say 7:15? Okay, we'll continue the public hearing to 7:15 on October 18th. And there will be a notice, we assume, if it gets in, right, John, scenic road, and we'll take that right after, if it comes in on time and everything works. Might as well deal them both at the same time, they're joined at the hip,
I
okay?
understand. Yeah, no, makes sense.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, before you close, is that gonna be the night you're gonna have town council and the traffic people there? Because the peer reviewer
Town meeting.
is not under contract. He's finished the amount of work he's been
I know, we
authorized
get
to
the
do.
money from them.
We do, but town council is also authorized not to spend any
Did
more
he
money.
tell you? I had a discussion with him.
Okay, I need it in writing from somebody to tell me.
I had already told
You have
you.
the check, so we can do it. I just need authorization from somebody to do it.
Yeah, you were
That's all.
supposed to do that, because
Okay.
that was the board, and you're
Yep.
getting it from it, so
Okay.
go do it, so he's ready for the peer review. And you submitted that the other day, right? So we can just send it off to Jeff, is it?
He has it.
Oh, he does?
He has it
Okay.
already,
All right, fine.
electronically.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
So, we asked for a new traffic study, but there was also some other things from the applicant that we asked for. Are those gonna be provided?
Well, whatever was asked, yeah, I mean, if they haven't, that's
Okay.
a check mark that we don't give,
Okay.
right?
I understand. But there were, unfortunately, you guys can ask for stuff, but I have to sort of do things in order because sometimes to go forward and then find out, make changes to plans and then find out there was something else that affected that.
Okay, I just wanted to bring it up that I have
No, no,
several outstanding
I appreciate that. And I
questions.
have a
and-
list of the items. Some of them the chairman asked for, some of them you asked for.
And not to tell you how you run your business, but I assume you'd come in with the list we've asked for, and, yeah, I did it here, but I couldn't do it here because you changed it to here, and it's no longer, that's all we need answers to.
No, everything that you asked for will be addressed. It's
Yeah.
just sometimes it's hard to change the plans until one thing gets figured out, it's hard to change something else. You gotta sort of see how, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. You gotta make
Yep.
sure they all mesh together correctly. I didn't forget about that. I appreciate you reminding me, but I did not forget. It's just, other things had to be done first.
Like writing extensions all night.
Is he gonna meet the,
14 day.
for the October 18th,
Yeah, he'd have to have it in by, October, what?
the publication?
Oh, for the scenic road?
Right.
Yeah, I think it's what, a 14, was it
14 days.
14 days in advance, yeah.
Okay.
That's a month, 4 weeks away. It's just a matter of him just getting it together by that time.
If I don't get it, I can't do it.
Yeah.
That's the week of town meeting, too.
And it goes to the selectmen.
Oh, that's right, goes to selectmen. Don't forget that, John, and you know that already. Okay, so, that being, there's no other issues, well, a lot of issues, but nothing else to discuss. We'll see everybody here on October 18th at 7:15. Okay, thank you. And we're all done too, correct? We got nothing else? Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.